Man, so I never thought they would ever change like the rifle that we use, like the M4, the M16, all that has been around for years. And I was
No,
just
I didn't
reading,
think they would either.
yeah, and I was just reading this article, and they announced a contract to Sig Sauer for a new rifle and a new saw, pretty much. So we were checking out. I might as well throw it on the screen,
Yeah,
and
throw
we'll
it
just
up.
go over this real quick. Yeah, because it's crazy. You always think like, well, eventually they're going to evolve, right? But um, so it says this is from the actual U.S. Department of Defense.gov website. So Army announces two new rifles for the close combat soldiers, and it's with Sig Sauer. It's called the XM5 rifle and the XM250 rifle.
Thing
Um,
looks slick.
so yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like. Do you remember the what was it? It was called the Mark 48.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the 7.62 version of the saw, and I actually loved carrying that one, even though it was heavier because it was 7.62, but it rarely malfunctioned. Um, and that was
Yeah,
really cool about it.
I think
But
it's
I
about
mean,
time
it's
they
kind of
did a little
crazy.
upgrade.
What do you think for the saw for sure? But do you think the rifle needs the upgrade?
I don't think it would hurt. I mean,
I mean,
I've
I'm just
always I've always enjoyed shooting
well,
my
what's the advantage? I wonder.
AK-47s more.
That's true. You've always been an AK guy.
Um,
Well, I think the like the new a newer round if it's effective, but I always think like logistic stuff, like they've been making 5.56 for what how long, and they have all that supply, and then they're gonna switch over to a new caliber. So
what's
now we don't have a massive supply of this new caliber. How do they,
It's
you
probably
know?
going to be a very long transition. I would assume it wouldn't be fast. Just like with the M16 and M4, we were still using M16s, and when I went through basic, they were just now starting
Yeah,
to like
it's
get rid of
true.
half of them. I think it's
And I'm
interesting.
sure they'll sell go ahead.
Sorry. I think it's interesting they're using a 6.8 millimeter. I don't know much about that. And it says both rifles are going to be in 6.8.
6.8 common cartridge family, as well as a new fire control system. We should note that is the first time in 65 years that the Army will field a new weapon system of this nature: a rifle, an automatic rifle, a fire control system, and a new caliber family of ammunition. That was from Army Brigade General Larry Burris. Um, so that's a that's just wild to me. I mean, things have to evolve, but some things are they don't go old like the 50 cal, right? The 50 cals, isn't that been around since World War One?
Yeah, it's been around a long time. What'd we say that one episode? It's like the
Yeah.
100-year mark.
Yeah, it was over 100 years, I think. And that one's crazy because the only change they made to it in whatever it was, the 100 years nearly was.
See, it says right here the fielding of this weapon is based upon the ammunition production. So as they're able to make more ammunition, they'll start to implement it more. So that answers that question.
The changing of the caliber is just, I don't know. I can't get over that. I would really like to fire it. Like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
want
I
to
would like to
see.
too.
Because, I mean, the M4 and the M16 are very effective, accurate weapons. And, like, since Vietnam, right, they became really reliable. I remember reading stories about, like, M16s, the A1s in Vietnam. They would just be like, no, I'm going to ditch this. I'm going to ditch this rifle for a Vietnam like AK-47 because it would malfunction. And
I would
and then
love to own an
it's
M1
evolved
Grand
over the
though.
years. Oh, M1 Grand. Yeah. You've seen Band of Brothers, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh my gosh.
those things look awesome.
Yeah. That
So
one's, is that 7.62?
I think
The
so.
M1 Grand?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's a 308.
Hmm. Favorite weapon system? I would have to go between, well, the Mark 19. It's just to shoot a fully automatic grenade launcher is just sexy, I guess. You know, it just almost seems like overkill. But then you're like, yeah, you want overkill though.
Yeah. Dude,
And
the
that
Mark
one,
19.
yeah, that yeah. But it was also one of the most complicated ones to learn. I remember we had to, obviously we had to become experts in everything we use. So disassembling, reassembling, and the team leaders right drilling us, making sure that we knew this weapon. But that one was hard to learn. It had a hard learning curve. A lot of different pieces, and then it had that weird different um, lubricant. And I don't know what it's called, but I know the nickname. And I'm sorry for the audience out there, but it was called Monkey Jizz. That was the nickname of the lubricant for the Mark 19, and and that's what
The
we would
Mark
use.
9.
And I remember it started. Go ahead.
No, the Mark 19 used to make me really nervous because of the ghost round. I never had any issues with it, but we did in country have a private one time. Like, forget that he had shot the ghost round and then, like, launch a couple Mark 19s at the gate. So that was
Yeah,
great. Had to get EOD out.
it's a dangerous weapon, and it takes a lot of training on it. And I remember it got even more complicated. Is that we got to use the Crow system, and for those that don't know, the Crow system, me and Jones know, but the Crow system is like a joystick, and you're looking at a screen, and it controls the turret above, so you're actually not exposed. And when you connect that Mark 19 up to the Crow system, and my memory is not all the way there, but I remember there was like an extra step because you had to do the ghost round thing, but then you also had to like do something with the joystick with it too, just to add even more confusion.
I can't remember what the extra
That
step
one was
was, but I
wild.
do remember that the Mark 19 was extremely hard to load and unload when it was on that Crow system.
Oh yeah, it's a total bitch, total bitch. It was just the whole thing, and you'd have to go up there and lubricate the feeder belt too. When you go out there, you'd like make sure everything looked all nice and pretty. It was like, I mean, it was a pain to get going, but once it was set up and ready to go rock and roll, it was a thing to behold.
Yeah, I think my favorite weapon system was the 240 Bravo. I just loved shooting that thing. It's 7.62 fully automatic. It's picking it up. It's got that nice hefty weight to it. I think it's like 27 pounds. It was just a blast to go to the range or in a firefight. It's actually the first weapon system I shot in a firefight was a 240 Bravo.
Never malfunctioned.
No, no issues. Barrel swaps were fun. I mean, it was a good weapon system to have, and you just felt like a badass getting to shoot it.
My favorite one was the 240 Lima. No,
So what
just that
about
6 pounds of lightness made all the difference.
since we're on the topic of like equipment and weapon systems, what about it as far as like the military giving you equipment to use? What was your favorite thing that you got?
But yeah, the night vision was just once I actually got the hang of it and was able to adjust it correctly. Because then when I got to the unit, I thought it was like, oh, this is still garbage. And then my platoon sergeant, I remember he went over like fine tuning it and focusing it really good, and I got more familiar with it. And I was like, okay, this is a lot better. And then walking with it, I learned how to walk correctly with it because I think I told you on another episode, but I used to just like hit anything, and I would just like face plant. We'd be doing like an outdoor training exercise. I'm like a brand new private, and just like I would just trip over a branch, just like, and I'd be like, "What the fuck? How about some noise discipline back there?" And I'm like face planted in a puddle of muddle.
No, it was
Like, I'm trying hard.
aside from the depth perception being off, it's like everything blended together at night too. If you had like the old Seven Bravos, all the trees and bushes and darkness would all just kind of mold together. So I mean, everything was lime green, but I still couldn't see anything.
So did you like the the seven Bravos or the PVS 14? So for the people, there's the single one, and then there's the Splinter Cell ones. Which one did you like better?
Yeah, I like the single ones that came down. So this eye always had like a night vision. Like I could see out of one eye, and then the other was still like situated to where I could see my M4 and stuff. It was, instead of both eyes being acclimated to the nods, having one eye acclimated to the darkness was nice in case I needed to grab something.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And then if you had your nod on your left eyeball on your right-handed shooter, you could still shoot normally then with your eye if needed, which I think is great in case something happens. Or say you're going through a town, right? And your night vision, and then there's street lamps, you could switch to your right eye instead of using your night vision.
And I was going to go something less technological and say the whoopee. for for those of you that don't know what a whoopee is, it is a airy, beautiful piece of fabric that just feels like silk, pure pleasantness when it hits your flesh, and it keeps you warm and cozy. You could use it as a pillow. It's some think that it was, crafted in the heavens. Uh, I'm not really sure where they craft it, but man, is it joyous.
I think the comparison is, when you have a baby blanket growing up, it's that.
Hmm.
That's the only way to put it. It's your baby blanket.
God,
Poncho
I took that
liner.
thing everywhere.
Yeah. This is the most important piece of equipment. I forgot about it. So
Oh, I could
comforting.
never forget about it.
So comforting.
It's the one thing I hid from CIF.
I know. Oh, I just thought of that. I had to turn mine in. That's ridiculous.
I know. All these other people trying to steal magazines and crazy stuff, and I just
You
wanted my whoopee.
just wanted your whoopee. I was so anxious to get out. Like I had washed everything, like put it in everything, every piece of equipment. I put it into the wash or not the wash machine, the laundry machine, and I did it like two or three times. I was like, I'm not getting, you know, denied at the CIF facility. So I was just so happy. I would have given them anything at CIF. They're like, hey, we also need your phone. I'll be like, here you go, take it, take my phone. Like anything. What do you want me to give? You want me to give blood? I'll give blood to get out of the army. Like whatever you need.
Then they make you run around and get those signatures. You got to get like 200 signatures from people you never even met on post.
Oh yeah. And sometimes it's just you just walk up and you're like, hey, I'm getting out. And they're like, oh yeah, here you go. I'm like, what
Yeah.
was the point? You go
They've
to
got
like,
stamps and stuff waiting. They're like, next.
yeah. I think I went to what was the intelligence part? Was it S4, S3, something like that?
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed. And I found like one of my old platoon leaders. I walked in there and he's like, Gillum. And I was like, what's up, sir? I'm getting out. He's like, hey, I'll sign you out.
It was so ridiculous. There were people I didn't even know existed, buildings I didn't know existed. I remember driving around Fort Polk for like 2 weeks straight, all day, every day, just getting signatures.
Yeah, it's like a mystery. You get to explore the base. You find like finally you find the basement that they all talked about. Like here it is.
You find all the good hiding spots. You see people, you're like, that's where they've been going.
All the expert shammers. There's just like a
Yeah.
bunch of E4 mafias just hanging out in this shady place. We're getting signatures.
Yeah. They're sitting there waiting for you, getting out soon.
Hey, there's a fine line between finding that silver lining of expert shamness, but without fucking anybody over. And the perfect one is dental appointments. The best strategy ever is to get one wisdom tooth pulled out one at a time because if you have all four in, you got to do them. That's four separate 48 hour, four different 48-hour periods that you get off. That's
Yeah,
the
stagger them.
yeah. I can only do one at a time, sir. Like two, that's just a lot for me. Make it sound like it's very sensitive, and you just get one wisdom tooth. Sorry, wisdom tooth. Doctor's note. It's
And I'm
tough. I want to
only
be there.
available right before a holiday.
I really want to be there for PT this morning, guys. I really do. But wisdom tooth just got pulled. Then they give you painkillers too, and you're just like at home. Woo! Yeah,
Oh
dental.
man, good old dental appointments. I don't think I ever scheduled one because I had to go to the dentist in the military like one time and it was terrifying. Some private who'd never even done it before was like in there yanking on my teeth. I was like,
He's
I
like
was like,
your
this is not happening again.
dental hygienist, the one that. Sorry, the doctor's out. I'll be doing all your surgical work.
Yeah, the doctor was in the corner like reading a magazine. He was like, "Oh yeah, you're doing good, bud."
You'll be a certified dentist in no time.
Yeah.
And that's the
This kid's
crazy.
like shaking.
If you really want to break it down, this is probably maybe a little cynical, but every medical doctor or dentist, medical profession in the military, they're just practicing their skills until they get out on us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surgeons are like, they wouldn't let me do this in the civilian world, but I get to practice on all of you for 8 years, and then I'll come out and be a real surgeon.
Yeah. Most medics could probably get out and be professional phlebotomists because all they do is just poke you all the time for no reason.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
I remember having like 7 IV bags hooked up to me one time because we were practicing sticking each other with IVs, and for some reason my veins were just like sticking out really good. So anytime someone was too fat and you couldn't see their veins, they'd send them over to me. They just thought it was funny, I'm assuming. I had like 6 or 7 IV bags at me, just laying there, like, please, no more.
Well, getting an IV was always fun.
It was
I
ice cold.
so soothing. I never heat catted, but I've always wanted to get like I would do anything like, oh, do you need to practice your IV sticking? I would be happy to take an IV. That would be great. But I only had it happen to me twice, but it was two beautiful occasions, and it was great. It's amazing.
I got stuck all the time. We used
Did
to do
you?
IV bags. Oh yeah, did it very frequently.
Yeah, my the two docs I had were just stingy about it. I was like, come on, man, let me get an IV. I think I don't want to drop their names, but and I think we got to the point where the army started like, all right, we're not going to just give everyone IVs all the time. And they were like, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. And I was like, oh gosh, come on. But we always had, I mean, it's because we were at Fort Polk, like everyone was constantly heat catting. Like we'd go out to the field and it didn't matter what training exercise we'd go to, someone would heat casualty constantly. I mean, it
Oh
was,
yeah, man. It was my whole squad did that one day.
wait, I was in your squad
Yeah, I don't believe you were
at
in
that
my
time.
team for that. We did a movement where we were in the field for like a month, and towards the end of it, it was like July. Uh,
Okay.
we were doing some 2-click movement, and we had already ran through it a couple times. And then they wanted to do a big dog and pony show because the higher ups were coming. So we were chosen as the squad or team to do it for Sergeant Major when he got there, and we had just finished it. And one by one, dude, we all just heat catted.
That was probably the summer. I had surgery in like May, I think it was. So I was still recovering from surgery from like May to like August. I think my
Oh
first
yeah,
week back
yeah.
on was August 20th, something like that.
And see, this was
Um,
like July 7th. It
yeah,
was like midsummer.
yeah, yeah. That was
But
probably
no,
it.
the in the company we had 18 heat cats that day.
It was crazy. The heat at Fort Polk was so ridiculous. I never heard like obviously we all went to basic training at Fort Benning because we're infantry, but I was like, damn, it's hot because I think I graduated in June, and I was like, there's no way it can get worse than Georgia. And then Fort Polk's like, hold my beer.
Yeah. Dude,
I
it was
mean,
miserable.
prickly heat. I didn't even know about prickly heat until I got to Fort Polk, and like, every night we would like take our ID cards because that was pretty much the only thing we could use, and we would scrape each other's backs.
Yeah.
Um,
And see, I didn't know what it was either. I
yeah.
grew up in Louisiana. I had never heard of prickly heat.
Well, I mean, and they'd be nice of us. Finally, we'd be like drenched in sweat, and they'd be like, "All right, first sergeants, recognizing we're getting up to almost 100 degrees, you can slightly undo your sleeves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Source of
Roll it
relief.
up 2 inches.
You can get 2 inches of relief." And we're like, "Oh, thank
They-
goodness, nice."
They'd still walk around and be like, "Hey, that's 3 inches." Like roll it
Hey,
back down.
you got an extra half inch there on your sleeves, there, buddy.
Hey, high speed. What are you doing?
You got to suffer like the rest of us. That's so
Dude, I
dumb.
remember it was ridiculous. And then when you'd heat cap, they'd be like
You didn't drink
undoing
enough
your
water.
cuffs. Yeah, undoing your cuffs and boots, and like somebody'd walk by and be like, "Why are his boots undone?" He's like dying.
And
Dude, it
his
was
boots are on
so
blouse. Get that man
yeah.
bloused. Oh, he's a heat cat. Oh, okay. Okay.
He's
I
like,
guess he's getting flown out of here.
all right, as soon as he gets off that copper though, tuck him back in.
Tuck him back in. Yeah.
He's fine.
So
It's so
dumb.
ridiculous.
So
For
dumb.
for those of you that don't know what prickly heat is, apparently it's where if you're wearing something like real thick, like flame retardants or a combat T-shirt, and you start sweating profusely, that combat shirt can like stick to you and keep the salt in your pores, and it creates these rash of bumps that are like very sensitive, and you have to somehow get those lumps out. And like he was saying, you'll take a credit card and just swipe it down and push it out.
Yeah, because like it's salt. Salt when it dries is like a crystal, or when there's enough of it, right? So it's like little
Yeah.
crystals in your back. So it feels like little needles, and then it gets on your equipment. So you're like IOTV body armor. You'd like put it on the next morning, and it feels like you're putting on needles.
Uh,
And you're like,
dude, it's miserable.
oh,
It's miserable.
oh.
Those were
I know.
some of the worst times of my life was having prickly heat.
Oh, it just made everything more miserable. You go to the bathroom and you're like getting prickled, and you're like, why, why?
You're in your wubby.
Yeah, just you couldn't wait to get naked. You just get underneath and you're like, oh, relief. And you'd hope for a rainstorm because that was the best way to get anything done around there in the field. Because you take like what, like 6, 7 t-shirts, a couple pairs of everything, and I'd throw a rainstorm happen. I would throw it all out and just wash it that
Yeah.
way. It was the only way.
You'd see dudes with that dry laundry detergent out there scrubbing their stuff in the rain, trying to get
Yeah,
all that salt out of them.
I know. I think the only thing that actually was effective is lots of baby powder. I found that out. I would put baby powder all
Yeah.
over my body. I mean, I wouldn't stop it all the way, but yeah, I'd be just like,
I remember. So they have. It's funny you say that. I used to take the baby powder and every morning just dump it on my whole body. I didn't know they had started creating a foot powder that was like medicated, so it had the it had the cooling stuff.
oh yeah, that
Dude,
was
I
the good
dumped it all down in my underwear.
stuff.
We're like halfway through a movement, and I was like, help! Like fall over, so, dumping water bottles down my pants, trying to get this stuff off.
That's like the equivalent of putting icy hot on your. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like all burning.
No, I remember that stuff because I would have like the regular kind and then the soothing kind, and I would put the soothing kind on at night, and I'd be like, ooh, soothing sensation.
Would not recommend for sensitive areas.
Yeah, don't. Yeah.
No, that's funny you say that because I remember just dumping baby powder. I used to buy like 2 tubs a week.
Oh yeah, dude, that's someone they should have every single team leader or E4 should have told every brand new private go get copious amounts of well cigarettes and body and baby powder. That
Yeah.
was I remember when I went out to the field when I was I was getting close to getting out, and obviously I was hurt because I had surgery, so I was on cop radio duty all the time. But I'd have just cartons of cigarettes, and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, private, you need a cigarette? Yeah, here you go. I'll give you one. Give me a trade me some. Give me $1 for that cigarette. That was a smart
It's
move.
there's a lot of little stuff like that I wish I would have known. It's funny, when I was 18, I didn't have like any facial hair, so I had never even thought about shaving. And you get to basic and you have to shave every morning even if you don't need to. And I did, I'm sitting there, no shaving cream, just dry shaving. like, like the next morning, I'm like, God, why? Why does my face hurt?
Oh yeah, it's crazy, and we'd have like such close shaves, and if you messed it up at all, they would catch you. Be like, you slacked off on your shave job. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I just missed it. Darn it.
I had I had some dudes I had on a two a day. I remember, I won't say names, but he was Sicilian, and we had this dude on a two a day at noon
Oh
every day. He had to do his second shave because he'd start getting shadowy before lunch.
yeah, I remember. I think I remember that, or at least there was a guy like that in our unit too. Because
Yeah, it was at Fort Polk.
yeah, the first sergeant was like, "Why isn't he shaved?" And his squad leader steps up. He's like, "First sergeant, I checked him. He was shaved this morning. He just grows that fast."
First, I was like, "Not on my watch." He runs over there.
He's like, "I want him to have a shaving cream and razor here at work for lunchtime."
They did, man. I remember this dude had to keep it in his shoulder pocket, and like at lunchtime every day, take it out. He'd be over there shaving.
Dude, that's one of those things that was so dumb. I mean, I get it; it's like professional, whatever. But I remember, like when we were on deployment, Sergeant Major finally came to visit us at Syedabad, and I remember our platoon sergeant's like, "Hey, Sergeant Major's coming. Make sure everyone shaves." And the first thing he says when he comes off the helicopter, pretty much, and we're looking at everyone, he's like, "See y'all fucking shaved. Did you just shave? Whatever. I'm glad you're shaved." Pretty much, like it was like, what the fuck, dude? You don't care about like food, ammo. I don't know, safety, well-being,
They were
thumbs.
the they were the same with haircuts. I remember them showing up one day, and we all had to get out there. One person had clippers, and we're out there shaving each other's heads because we knew that's the first thing he'd be checking.
Yeah, I
I was like,
know.
man, come on.
Yeah, we just all had buzz cuts then. That's it. It's just
I
easy.
hear I hear all that's gotten really lax though. Not just like tattoo standards and stuff like that, but the haircuts, the shaving. I hear that it's been laxed a little bit.
It'd be interesting to hear from a recruiter of what it's like. What are the challenges like? I don't know if it's just, well, when you and I were going in, well, you're a little bit old, you were in a little bit before me, but it was still, they were saying like, only 1% of the population would serve in the military or eligible or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it was already kind of challenging to get in, but they've had to lax the standards to get because they're having recruiting problems right now. And I don't know if that's just is it the younger generation? Is that just culture thing? Is it um, or we don't have as good as physical fitness in our younger generation as we did? I don't know what all those challenges are, but
I don't know. I don't know if it's just my thought process would be that maybe it's not as exciting as it was when I was enlisting. It was still kind of new to go to Afghanistan and Iraq. I guess after 20 years, people are just like, okay, everyone else has been there. I don't want to go. Like, I don't know. Maybe their just mindset is it's not new or exciting, but I don't know.
yeah. Well, I think, time and time again, every single person I've talked to that's like around our age group, we had 9/11, we saw the invasion of Iraq, one of those two things or both, and we were like, oh, we're going to join. You
Yeah.
know, that's kind of like the same thing. And maybe it's just like war weariness. Everyone's just like, one, I think a lot of people don't realize that we were still in Afghanistan, even in 2000, early 2010 to 2015, we were still there. Like people just kind of forgot about it. And then two, I don't know. It's like you said, it's just people probably need a new reason to join up. But I was thinking on the other side though, the military provides a lot of like security. So you would think when when you're not as in many wars, it might like people might be like, all right, well, I could join the military and get some security, financial security, and not have to go to a crazy war or something. I don't know, you know?
Well, a lot of it could be mistrust of the government. I mean, I hear more and more every day that people don't trust our government. I'll talk to people and they're just weary and nervous. And I mean, that could be a big part of it is not wanting to be controlled by Uncle Sam right now. I, I don't know. It'd be interesting to, like you said, get a recruiter on and see kind of some of the stuff they're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean that. I'm sure there's still plenty of patriotic people here, but it's probably in the back of your mind. Do you really want to go and fight a war unless it's a very valid reason? That kind
Yeah.
of thing. And you know, you got to have a valid reason. You need a World War II, a bad guy to really truly inspire someone to go out and sacrifice their life. Otherwise, you only have a few of the crazy people like, yeah, let's just go to war. I don't care. But it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting. But, what about the other branches? The Navy hasn't really, unless you're EOD or Navy SEAL or, SWIC or something, you're not really in combat per se, or like a submariner. That would be crazy. But you're not really in combat because the Navy doesn't really fight in naval battles anymore. They might be
Same,
involved in, invasions and stuff like that. But it's,
same with the Air Force. I mean, unless you're a JTAC or you get to drop the occasional like JDAM, I mean, what are you really doing?
yeah.
It's not like they're doing dogfights and stuff.
Yeah, and it's just the pilots. So it's just it seems like it's every branch is having struggling to retain and recruit military members, and that's just I don't know. It's kind of mind blowing. I think at this point, and our
No,
population
it,
is high.
no, it really is because if I was 18 right now, I'd be joining. I mean, like you said, the job security, the benefits, the pay. I would, if I could go back, I probably would have stayed in, done my 20,
Oh yeah,
just
you do your
retired at
20.
38.
I mean, you do your 20 and you can transition to a military. By that time, you're either an officer or you're a senior enlisted. And like I said, employers want that type of person in their company or whatever. So you could
Yeah.
definitely go and find yourself a nice job retiring, and you'd have your military retirement on top of that salary. Um, and then on top of that, you probably could if you were smart, got your 4-year degree or some kind of certificate, some kind of trade maybe under your belt by the time you got out. I mean, yeah, every single person. I've never heard of someone not being set after doing their 20. Like
Yeah.
yeah. It's
So
what?
to,
This is just I don't know why this is a random thought that just hit me. What's one thing there's still mysteries in the military I've never figured out, and it just hit me when I was talking about enlisted and officers. What's a warrant officer? I don't know. They're pilots. Sometimes they're pilots. Sometimes pilots are regular officers. I know in an SF unit they had a warrant officer, but I don't understand like what they're like this mysterious like unicorn that walks around, and you see that rank and you're like, oh, that's a warrant officer. Holy shit.
dude, I don't even know off the top of my head. I used to know the difference in an officer and a warrant officer, but I can't even tell you right now.
Like, what is a warrant officer? Let's just ask Google right now on air because, like, I need to know. Like, I should know. Warrant officers command aircraft, maritime vessels, special units, and tasked organization to operational elements. in a wide variety of units and headquarter specialties. Warrant officers provide quality advice, counsel, and solutions to support their unit and organization. Okay, but that doesn't like why have a warrant officer when you have an officer?
Because they're better.
But I don't.
Look at the rank.
Warrant officers must be technically and tactically focused and able to perform their primary duties as technical leader and advisors. But isn't that like a senior NCO? Like, you have like an E8 or E7. That's someone who's probably an expert in their area. Like,
See, I'd always, yeah, thought it was the equivalence of like the expert infantryman's badge, except for officers. Like once you became an expert and passed all their tests and quizzes or whatever it was you needed to do, then you got the rank of warrant officer. But I have no idea.
but I only saw it, like I said, I either saw it with either an SF unit or a pilot. I would see pilot warrant officers.
Yeah, the
Um,
only ones I ever saw were helicopter pilots.
yeah, but then sometimes a helicopter pilot would be, a captain or a major, and then sometimes it's a warrant officer.
I take
And
that
I'm like,
back. I met one mechanic that was a warrant officer.
huh? See, it's a mystery. Like, what's the reasoning? Is it just like a badge of honor? Like, hey, you can be a warrant officer.
If you know
But
what a warrant officer is, throw it in the comments.
we need to know right now.
Enlighten us.
Come on, if you're a warrant officer or a former, come on. We want to hear about the unicorn warrant officer.
They're like, oh God, they're on to us.
Dude, it's probably the most ultimate sham job ever because you're like, you have. Do you have to salute a warrant officer? I can't even remember now.
Probably. I mean, I don't
Dang.
even think colonels would know what they are. They just salute them. They're, they're like, is this guy above me?
Warrant officer. Shit, do I salute that guy? Fuck.
They're both like wondering if they should salute
They,
each other.
they do it, so they do it at the same time, so nobody's saluting. They're like, all right, that
Yeah.
worked out.
They're both just, that
Like,
was close. Just
that
mean
reminds
mugging everybody.
the time I was about to get out, I remember I would divert sidewalks to avoid officers. I'd be like, oh, there's one
Yeah.
coming. I'd be like, let's take a left right here.
That's like, I'll never forget at the 173rd, their motto or whatever is Sky Soldiers. So every time you saluted a officer, you said Sky Soldiers. And that was
Oh.
just it. And I got to Fort Polk, and the first officer I saluted, I said, Sky Soldiers, sir. And he's like, what the fuck is that? I was like, oh, it was my last unit. And he was like, you're a leg now. I don't ever want to hear that again. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
sir. I like run off.
climb to glory, sir. And then he'd be like, to the top.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Climb
Yeah.
to glory.
The officer
were
would
like-
to the top.
They were so offended I said Sky Soldiers.
Which-
All of them just turned. It's like,
Well,
oh
they should've-
God.
When they should have told you that your first day. That's what they told me. They like they fucked
They
you over on that.
and they may have, and I just forgot or was so in the habit of saying something else it just slipped.
Yeah, I mean, you did it for whatever how many years, and it's just a habit.
I remember getting caught one time too. I was trying, like you said, to like stay away from an officer. I don't know why I thought it would work, but I was gonna like sneeze as he came by so I didn't like have to salute him. But he saw me and caught onto it and like backpedaled, I guess, while I was fake sneezing. Like waited for me to quit to salute him. He was like, yeah, you're not getting out of it. I was like, climb to glory.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It was pure genius. He was 2 steps ahead of me.
Yeah, that's why he's an officer. That's
Yeah.
why he was an officer.
I sneezed and looked up. I was like, he's still there.
Damn it.
God. It's a glitch in the matrix.
Glitch. Some of those officers. That's what they live for. You know, they love getting that.
Oh, they love it. They love it.
Love it. What was
But
really
the best part is when you have the ones that don't love it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I cannot remember his name, but he used to get so mad if you saluted him. So I remember one time I walked our whole squad in a big U, so everybody had to salute him. He was so pissed.
It's that's the one thing, like, like you can't tell me not to salute you, because if my higher rank sees me not saluting you, then my ass is on the line. I used to
Yeah.
annoy. It was like when we got attached to an ODA unit, right? I'm like, hi sergeant. Hey, call me Mike. I'm like, if I call you Mike, my platoon sergeant's gonna murder me.
Call me Mike.
I
You're like,
can't
hey,
call you
Mike. Right as someone's walking by the. What did he say?
Sergeant Mike. Mike,
I
Sergeant.
had I had my mind blown by that when so my brother's in the National Guard and I went to go visit him one time and this private was just chilling with First Sergeant. They're sitting there talking, like dabbing each other up and hugging. I was like, I asked him, I was like, dude, what is going on? And he was like, oh, it's a little more relaxed here. Like we talk to each other like friends. And I was like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah, but it probably depends on what guard unit you're in. I'm sure there's like a supermoto guard unit in one
Yeah.
state, and this guy's
Or
like,
if you're like a weekend warrior as opposed to like an active guard.
yeah, true. And then every unit I heard is just different. Everyone has their different stupidity things that go on. Like, I've heard people. I
But
remember when we came to Fort Polk, a common complaint that I heard from people transferring in. They're like, "Why do we do this? I've been. This is my fourth duty station. I've never been in such kind of stupidity before in my life." And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, "Of course, I get stuck in the place that's the dumbest place in the army."
at least you got stuck there. I picked it.
Really?
So when I was leaving Italy, because you can only be there 2 years, they pulled me
Yeah.
aside and asked. They were like, "Hey, we have a couple stations open. Where do you want to go next?" And I was like, "Well, I want to keep airborne. So I hear there's a place back home in Louisiana that's airborne, and it was that Op 4 unit,
Geronimo.
509th. Yeah." And they were like, "Oh yeah, we can get you in there." I
Nobody
show
wants to
up.
go to Geronimo.
Well, I show up and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be Geronimo, play Op 4 the rest of my career, just like chill in the field and keep my airborne wings and all this. And they were like, no, you're going to 10th Mountain. I was like, no, I have orders. And they were like, not anymore. Ripped them up. I was like, what? They were like, we've got an infantry unit here that's deploying soon and they need NCO. And that was it. I mean, tore up my orders and printed me new ones right there on the spot. I was like, but I'm airborne.
Fuck you.
Please. Yeah.
That's the green weenie right there. That's a pure example of the green weenie.
Yep. They tricked me into going to Fort Polk and I was stuck with 10th Mountain the rest of my career.
And if I remember right, Jones, the green weenie followed you everywhere. I remember you were like, I always get fucked over because you would always get like, all right, what? Let's get a team leader over and some Joes. Jones, go get some volunteer, and I'd be like, moving,
Yeah.
and it would
And it
be
was just,
me and Sergeant Jones and a couple other people just doing some random fucking shenanigans.
and I think that's wise because it's not in me to say no. And then I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, even though I'm going to bitch and complain the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Oh
then
yeah.
they knew that. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, Jones will do it.
Well, bitching and complaining is part of the military experience. That's like everywhere. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always
I'll
knew
ne-
like I was your Joe, so I was like, oh, Sergeant Jones, I need to grab some privates. So I was like, well, that's me.
See, I'll never forget the first time I like really got hammered by the big green one was 173rd. We went to go to the field in Germany. We were there for a whole month, so 30 days, and we had just jumped out of airplanes for the second time that month. Fun fact: I'm terrified of heights. I hated jumping out of planes. I wanted to keep my airborne because the pay and it looked cool and all of this, but like I was always terrified of jumping. So we land on the second one. And I'm like, thank God it's over. And on the 30th day, all the unit was going to drink beer, throw this big party, and then head back to Italy. They come into our hooch that night and they're like, look, there's one more jump tomorrow and they're one man short. Somebody is going to have to stay back in Germany with this other unit and help these privates jump.
Oh no.
They're not going to be able to drink tonight. They're not going to go back to Italy with everyone else. They're going to have to stay in the field an extra week. And I was like, I like pulled my whoopee up and tried to hide. And I hear my NCO across the room. Yeah, Private Jones will do it. I was like, no, please. I had to jump a third time, stay in Germany with a unit I didn't know, and I didn't get to drink that night. I got to watch the entire unit get drunk while I was just sitting there like,
Brian, yeah. I don't remember my first Green Weenie experience. It was probably just getting my orders to Fort Polk, but but I do remember one experience when our unit was coming back. I remember, God, fucking rumors. We were getting hyped up. Hey, we're gonna stop in Romania. They're gonna probably give us 48 hours. We're gonna get to drink and see some Romanian women, and it's gonna be awesome. Probably 2 beers limit though. And we're like, okay, I was like, 2 beers, be great. We showed up in Romania in the middle of the fucking night. And I was like, oh hell, this is cool. We're in Romania. And of course they bus us all, and we're like going through all these old buildings, and I was like, this looks like Cold War shit. And all of a sudden we pull up and there's a tent. And I was like, oh God, this is where we're going, isn't it? We show up and they take us to a tent because they want us to go through customs again. They took us through customs again. We didn't get chow, we got MREs, and we had to go turn in our plate carriers. And I was like, where's the 2 beers at? Where was the 48 hours? We got fucked again. And that was our Romania experience. And we were there for 5 hours, and it was through the night. We left on the plane as the sun was just about to come up. We didn't even really get to see Romania. We were there in the middle of the night. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I was like, I guess I can say technically I was in Romania, but does it really count?
Yeah.
Does it really?
That's about right, man.
That's
And
the
God
irony.
forbid you bring up the 2 beers.
I know.
Sergeant, are we getting 2 beers? What'd you say?
You promised. But it kind of got made up because then we stopped in Ireland, and we all got our 2 beers in Ireland in the airport. What was it? Savannah, Georgia,
that.
or why did I say Georgia? Savannah, Ireland, or Shannon, Ireland, whatever. That was our stop. And I remember. I think one of the things that pissed me off the most, I was like, guys, we're in Ireland. Order a Guinness and order a beer that you have never seen before. Do it. And then I remember one of the dudes, he got like 2 Bud Lights. And I was like, dude, are you serious? We're going to crush Bud Lights like by the case here in 24 hours. So I got a Guinness. And to this day, it was like the best tasting beer. I feel like it was my first beer in, how long, whatever. It was so good. And then I had another beer that I don't remember. And it was the best buzz I think I ever had in my life. And I just passed out and woke up and we were in Louisiana. That was it. It's great. I wish I could feel that feeling off 2 beers to this day.
Well, man, that was a good episode. I'm about ready to call it and pop smoke for the day.
Heck yeah. Yeah, man. And if you're watching, we want to talk about military tattoos. Send us a picture of your tattoo. Leave like a nickname and like your military unit. You don't have to send your personal information or anything like that. But it's the Shield Wall 2023 at gmail.com. And we put it in a post too. Send us your tattoo. We're going to go over them. And if you got an embarrassing tramp stamp, we want to see that one too.
And we know it's going to be your last name.
You have a dolphin tramp stamp and you're in the military, that still counts. We want to see that one. All right, brother. I hope you have a good weekend.
Yeah. You too, man. Have a good one.